Forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight Black Mass.
Ghastly greetings, groovy ghoulies. Welcome to the Midnight Black Mass. This is the Reverend, the Devil You Know, the maniacal minister, the occult, the dragon, here on the air for you, Dan Wilson, in the house tonight, here live from the compound, as the Midnight Black Mass takes the airwaves by the throat. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. Big star tonight, Impact Wrestling's own Gunner is going to be appearing as our special guest with a conversation that goes all over the place. A really fun conversation. He's a dear friend of mine. And that's how I just let it roll. I hadn't talked to him in a while anyway, so as opposed to coming at him with all of these crazy wrestling questions, we just kind of talked like we would talk, and I just let it roll, and I found it quite enjoyable, and hopefully you will too, especially fans of heavy metal and other dorkery type entertainment, comic books and horror movies and whatever. We talk about a lot of our various interests and what's going on in our lives, in addition to a lot of wrestling talk, and of course TNA Impact and their brand new time slot Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Destination America Television, a sister network of the Discovery Channel. So stay tuned for Gunner. He's going to be coming up here in just a few. Only one big date to plug this week. All that matters right now for me is January the 24th, Empire Wrestling, 22 Austin Avenue, Rossville, Georgia, for Long Cold Winter 2015. I will be hosting a Midnight Black Mass live with the owner of Empire Wrestling, Drew Delight, and a man who he's been embroiled with quite a bit of controversy lately, one Joey Lynch. We're going to try to get to the bottom of that scenario. Was it Drew Delight that rang the bell in the title match and cost Lynch the Empire Championship? Was it? I'm going to find out. You can bet your sweet ass I'm going to find out on January 24th at the Midnight Black Mass live at Empire Wrestling. Long Cold Winter. Go to empirewrestling.net to find out more information. You can also follow them on the social media at facebook.com/Empire Wrestling or on Twitter at EmpirePW. So, gonna plug my Twitter right quick as well. Dragons Rejects. Follow me there. Hit me up. Favorite me, retweet me. Like me, don't like me. Tell me what's going on. If you're listening to the show, we always love to hear from you. You've gotten some great feedbacks. And Paul Heyman's hat. Your Bill Barron's on-demand episodes have been added to the YouTube channel, so go over that. Somehow, Paul Heyman's hat has become sentient and has created its own Twitter account. I guess because it's no longer on its head, it got bored and created a Twitter account. But it's a big fan of the show, so it's always tweeting me, and he didn't happen to get the most recent YouTube episodes. So those are now up for you. The Bill Barron's Wild Side History Parts 1 and 2, the epic 2-hour-long apiece episodes. So that's one of the reasons they were a little delayed going up on YouTube. We had them in the RSS feed. We had them on iTunes. We had them on Stitcher, but not on YouTube because, honestly, it just took a really fucking long time to load those long-ass podcasts onto YouTube. So that's what was up with that. The only other thing I would mention here in the plug section is if you would like to book the Dragon, the Reverend, Dan, whatever you want me to do. I've done just about everything in the world of professional wrestling over 15 years and worn many hats, most famously as an announcer and a manager, but I can do other things as well. Hit me up, dragonsrejects@gmail.com. We'll talk turkey. Still booking my schedule for 2015. Like many, laying low in the winter months. I hate the cold. I know I've joked in the past that my version of hell is that of the Norse hell, where it is not actually hot, but deathly cold and desolate. And that would be my particular brand of hell. So, on to the Revs rant. What am I ranting about this week? Well, it's a good one, actually. It's one that I thought out and really got my points together, so this is very little rambling. Hopefully this is fairly cohesive. The rant this week is entitled, "A Generation Who Grew Up Idolizing DX and the NWO Has Come Home to Roost, but they're missing the point, maybe?" What the fuck are you talking about, Dan? What I'm talking about is I notice, especially amongst the youngest generation of the business right now, people who have gotten in within, let's say, the last 5 years. But there's more, but even stars are impacted by this. You'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. I kind of notice a fundamental disrespect, a fundamental lack of respect for the core principles of wrestling. It's almost like it's become cool to disrespect wrestling's veterans and write them off as people stuck in the past. I think that's extremely short-sighted. Is somebody from an entirely different generation than you going to find it difficult to adapt to modern times? Yes. My poor grandparents, they can't hardly use a computer. They're in their 80s. It's, when you come from a different generation, you have a hard time adapting to the modern comforts, technologies, what have you. It's because it's different. You're relearning a whole new way of life. Is it a case where everything from their stories where, quote unquote, back in my day, everything was going to be better, quote unquote, than it is now because somebody who lived it had a rose-colored view of the good old days? Yeah, that's a good possibility. I think there's been scientific studies that prove after a certain age, you stop liking certain kinds of music and you stop liking certain kinds of entertainment if it doesn't have some tie to nostalgia. So yeah, that's absolutely a good possibility. But if you don't think there's value in the words of men who have succeeded at the highest levels of our sport, then you're showing a great deal of foolishness. Now, foolishness is a common trait amongst anyone who has ever been young, as we have all, and we often learn over time that with trials and tribulations and our errors, as well as the wisdom of age, that maybe we didn't have it all figured out. You do, no matter what your experience level, really need to try and be smart enough to understand that these people were successful for a reason. So even if you're too cool to indulge their big fish stories or their advice, at least try to understand the psychology of what they're telling you and apply it to today in the context of modern presentation. Even understanding and appreciating myself that wrestling has evolved into several styles that appeal to a number of varied core audiences, I still find it extremely disturbing how accepting many of the current wrestling community, stars included, are of the dismissive attitude that prevails against the basic tenet that things should be making sense in the context in which you present them. Why is it there is never a retort to performance critiques beyond "it's wrestling, everyone knows it's a work, who cares," or "because so-and-so does it," or "because I had to get my shit in"? Okay, if your response is, "why are you doing PWG spots?" and you say, "because it's PWG spots," if you're in PWG, good, that's okay, because they have educated their audience to that own style, that everyone's in on the joke. That's cool, that's what they do. Most places aren't like that. So you should try and respect whatever wrestling universe you're participating in and whatever that promotion has educated their audience towards. I'm just begging for somebody to defend any of the given reasons with facts and credibility. Give me an intellectual argument against why wrestling fundamentals shouldn't be respected. And then after all of this rant, you say, "Dan, what the hell did DX and the NWO do, and what do they have to do with it?" Well, nothing directly, actually. It was a catchy title. I'm headline grabbing, damn it. But what we are seeing is a lot of the emulation of their rebellious spirit from kids who grew up idolizing them, but without a lot of the psychology of why they were successful. And if what they said was true, they, being the NWO, Kevin Nash specifically, at a promo, and I think Nash is an entertaining guy. I got nothing against him, but just going with wrestling history here, he did say the stars of the 70s and the 80s, that generation paved a road for them that was full of potholes. Well, if those guys paved the stars of the 90s a road full of potholes, those motherfuckers left us a dirt road that leads to a bridge with an out of order sign on it. So it's hard to blame the current guys for the way things are, but now we can all do our part to plant some new grass, fix that bridge, and repave that son of a bitch with a glossy new coat. That's all. A whole new state-of-the-art deal, and we can all do it together. And that's my rant this week on the Midnight Black Mass. Gunner is coming up right after this.
Whether you're having an autograph session, personal appearance, or live event, we got just the person you need to contact for all of those needs. SBI Bookings is home of some of the best stars in the wrestling industry today. They provide you with the best talent this business has to offer, from Kevin Nash, Larry Zbyszko, Scott Steiner, and many, many more. So who will you contact next time you're planning an event? The men of SBI Bookings. Check them out at sbibookings.com.
And we're back on the Midnight Black Mass. My guest at this time, returning to the show for his second appearance, was ranked number 40 in the top 500 wrestlers in the world of 2014 by Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. Former TNA Impact, World Television Champion, World Tag Team Champion, former NWA National Champion, longest reigning of those of all time, and a dear friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Gunner to the program from Impact Wrestling. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. That was a nice list of accolades I had there.
Yeah, I know. You're awesome, right?
yeah. I'm doing good. Can't complain, man.
Awesome, man. Well, of course, you're with Impact Wrestling. We heard right before they signed their new TV deal that you had signed a contract extension, so you're certainly tearing things up there, and they've got their big new TV show on Destination America Friday nights at 9 p.m. Why don't you start right off the top with the hot topic and what's going on there?
Yeah, no, man. I think we're all excited as far as Destination America. You know, obviously, I think when it comes to the U.S. viewings, it kind of cuts down our ratings a little bit U.S., but it's a really huge international thing, and they're really a company that wants to, like, they want to work with us. I mean, they want to advertise us. They want to see us flourish, which in return helps their. It's a newer station. I know it's like a Discovery Channel sister station, so it's going to help them hopefully flourish as well. We're all excited. Well, first of all, we're happy because we all have a job and we're on TV still, and it's good for the wrestling business in general.
Oh, yeah. It's like everybody. It's funny because a lot of the people that were talking trash about TNA when it come time to the fact that they were about to go out of business, they changed their tune real quick. Because absolutely, it's something that the wrestling business needs, and I think you guys are doing a great job up there in New York. I agree. I think it's exciting that you have this new network who is growing and wants to see you grow and wants to team up in that respect. So you got big things on the horizon, I think.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, and like you said, I re-signed back in April for 3 more years, and hey, I'm just blessed to do what I love to do, man. You know, I mean, we work together in the NWA all the time, and just like you, just like anybody else in that building, we put a lot of miles and spend a lot more money than we were making, and a lot of guys, you know, do it for a reason, and mine's paid off.
Yeah, absolutely, and you put in the hard work and the effort to get there. I've never seen someone with as much dedicated work ethic as you have in terms of when you decided that it was time to turn the light switch on and get in shape. I remember you. And, I mean, you were a big, impressive guy before you got ripped to look like an action figure. And since you've done that, you've maintained that and only gotten more impressive. So, like, what kind of diet does it take to be Gunner, to be the Universal Soldier, to look like that?
Man, it's real strict, Dan. It's 6-7 days a week. I mean, I have one cheat meal, on Sunday where I get to eat pizza or just, whatever I feel like eating. But it's plain chicken, tuna, brown rice, sweet potatoes, and just very plain and bland. But I eat every 2 hours, and if I don't, I start to get mean. But man, I carry my meals around with me, and people look at you like you're crazy. But when it comes to your job and everything, it's a total package nowadays. I mean, it's your body, it's your in-ring work, and it's just it's not a hobby. It's my job. So I mean, I work out as part of my job.
Speaking of in-ring work, you've always impressed me because you're a student of the game. You like to watch wrestling. You like to study wrestling. What is in your player right now as far as what you're watching for educational purposes, should I say?
I've been on a Macho Man 6 for a long time, and it's funny because, he just recently, I guess last night, was announced for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I think everybody's super happy about. But he's one of my favorites to watch. That and, older Kurt Angle when he was in there working with, Benoit, guys like Eddie Guerrero. Even AJ Styles. I watch some of these guys. I don't per se do high-flying moves, but AJ, as far as psychology and stuff like that, and putting matches together, there's a lot of guys I study, but Macho Man's one that I thought was way ahead of his time, even his promos and just certain things he did in the ring. And I try to just kind of pick a little bit from everybody, man, and just that's what wrestling is now. It's hard to be original anymore, but you can kind of refabricate certain guys from back in the early '80s and guys, and things they did, and it's new to certain fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can take elements from different things and kind of mold them into your own thing. Of course, with Randy Savage, obviously one of the greats of all time. But going back and watching him, you do get such an appreciation for just how talented he was and just how void of a personality of that type the business is today. He was just so out there and intense and real. It's great that guys like yourself are studying the Macho Man, because that's what we need to see moving forward, is not the same old thing, like you said, but taking what worked about that and figuring out how it works into the next generation.
Yeah, for sure. It's not, by no means am I talking bad about the wrestling business or guys in the business and all, but now it seems like it's in my eyes, it's such a cookie cutter product, man. And the good thing about Impact, and the writers and the office and stuff like that, they kind of let us do really, how we want to put our matches together. They don't really, the agents are there, but they're not there, and they're not cookie cutter in our match together, man. Placing it together, they kind of let us do who we are in the ring. So it's that's big to me. I think because fans want to see different things from different guys.
So I noticed you started using the F5 as a finisher, and which is something that you hadn't done, like when we were working together. So, but I think that's an awesome move for you, and there's nobody there doing it. And I'm just kind of curious, is that something you came up with? Did one of the veterans help you with that, or do you have any input on that?
Yeah, it did. When I first started with, Gunner and Murphy deal, and I think, matter of fact, the night they were going to put the TV title on me, it was, me and D'Lo sitting there talking. He goes, "What do you have as a finishing move?" And I went, "Well, I used to use the power bomb and the independence and stuff like that." And he went, "You got to try and come up with something that anybody and everybody's going to take," which makes sense. You got some veterans that aren't going to take a power bomb, and so we start throwing ideas back and forth. And I just remember, when I was in the Marine Corps watching Brock Lesnar, and I always give him credit for his move, but he was just so powerful and it looked so vicious when he gave it, man. And I kind of just threw it up in the air, and it's like, nobody at that time. Brock was MMA fighting, and they said nobody's doing that. So it was my idea, and they okayed it, and I call it the Hanger 18 in TNA. And
love it.
And I've been doing I do the flying headbutt every once in a while. Benoit used to do it, him and Dynamite Kid, man, and I can't do it too often because it rings my bell, but that's another one.
I was about to say, you better watch that flying headbutt, man. Everybody I've seen that did that on the regular ended up having that neck surgery. I was telling Corey Hollis that this weekend when he was he was doing it. He was like, well, do the flat headbutt. I'm like, man, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Now you're a bigger guy, so you're not having to like come down with quite so much force as far as a little guy would to make it believable. But still, just I worry about you. Just be careful out there.
Right, man. And then you remember the missing link, right? And he used to hit himself on the turnbuckle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been trying to find that one thing that makes Gunner stand out because Al Snow and these guys have been talking to me, and The Rock had the people's elbow. He, Stone Cold had the middle fingers, and everybody's got kind of their calling. Hulk had the let me call to the crowd, and so on and so forth. So started thinking. I was watching the missing link one day, and he kind of just hit it a few times. It's like, what if I altered it and just right before my comeback, I just start beating. So I think it's worse the way I beat my head on the turnbuckle than it is doing the flying headbutt. But man, I've learned that the crowd really loves it. I remember I did it in Manchester for one of the first times last year when I worked Magnus for the title, and the crowd they ate it up. And I think that was the one time where I finally realized that I had something that the crowd can kind of latch on to.
It's pretty metal.
It is very metal, and I get made fun of all the time from my buddies in the locker room. They're like, dude, you are going to kill your neck. But if you watch out do it, I use my whole body more than just kind of headbanging my neck. So I'm trying to protect myself.
And you got that hair, which creates the nice illusion of because when the hair's flowing around, they don't quite see.
And I can finally grow the beard back and be, I got the okay to grow the beard back, so I can finally be have my beard and be a man again. So,
speaking of the beard, that's a good segue because, of course, you're known now as the Modern Day Viking, which is an appropriate name for the way you've evolved over time and what you've become. I saw that you recently took a trip to Iceland to go back to the motherland there. What was that experience like? Take us inside that journey.
Man, it's been on the bucket list of mine for quite some time now, and just some friends of mine got together in Miami and said, we'll take a trip to Iceland. So I said, you know what, I'm going to join you. I have a good downtime. It was amazing, man. Like, really, really cold and snowy this time of year, but just see a country where there's 1% unemployment rate. The crime rate's really low, and it's just a really clean place. And then, obviously the heritage and the history behind the Vikings and just Iceland and all this other stuff, man. It was just, I want to try and go back in July when it's a lot more green, but there's so many other things. I got to see the Northern Lights and waterfalls and just unbelievable stuff, man. I took a bunch of pictures and, did a museum where they had Viking, all kind of artifacts and just history and all kinds of stuff, man. It was really cool.
I saw your Viking photo shoot.
Yeah,
was awesome.
Yeah. It was just I kind of happened to walk across that or walk up on that place, and the guy was like an authentic, Viking photography. They didn't, they had all the props and everything. I was like, this is gonna be great. So I did a lot of Conan. He wasn't really a Viking, but I did couple different Conan style poses, and just really, really neat for me, man. I'm into Vikings a lot, so.
You had one that was really Ned Stark from Game of Thrones looking that really popped me.
Yeah, yes. I just started watching that show, matter of fact, so I'm getting into it, man. I've been kind of out of the loop on that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I got a bunch.
Oh man, it's the best. It's probably the best TV drama, I think. Especially with the budget, because they count them in as kind of cheating because they get $50 million per episode budget, but it's quite epic, and it's right down your alley, so I think you'll dig it.
Oh, for sure. I'm liking it so far.
Awesome. So the Iceland trip was good. That's awesome. We've talked about what's going on TNA. You're also out there on the Independents. I see that you were just down at Deep Southern Championship Wrestling, but you're all over the place. Who are some of the better talents on the Independents that you've lined up with that you really think you see something in or may have a shot at that next level?
Man, my buddy, Steven Walters, obviously, Dash Wilder now in developmental for WWE. I've preached about him for years and years. Another guy I really, really work with, man, and then get a chance to work with on a rare occasion is John Schuyler. he's another one that we just worked. I think it was Black Friday, right before Christmas or whatever. And just a really good guy, man. Really a student of the game. You talk about. He's always. I think he studies more than I study. He's always sending me matches and stuff. But just somebody that he's trying to better himself. Obviously, his body and everything. And he's one of those guys that's on the. He doesn't have height. He doesn't have size. But he's got heart. And I think it's one that he can have a job. He's still young if he keeps going. And I worked with Jason Collins not too long ago for Deep South down in Georgia, and he really liked me. We had about a 20-minute match, man, and he's got really good psychology, and putting a match together because he's a smaller guy, and then working a guy like me that's like 240, you got to put a match together a certain way. But those are two guys that I can really, spit names off at the top of my head right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I know, of course, I know both of those guys, but Jason, he's been spending a lot of time with David Young lately. That's his brother is married to David's daughter, so
yes.
they kind of they're around a lot. So I think the more time he's been spending with him recently, I've definitely seen a lot of improvement in him. And he's starting to take his diet and things seriously. You can tell he's getting in better shape. So yeah, I would agree. I think if he keeps his head on straight, which is be his biggest issue, but as long as he does, I think that he'll. As long as he does, I think he will have a bright future ahead of him.
For sure, man.
Any independent dates that you wanted to plug?
Yeah, I got this Saturday in Milwaukee. I can't even remember the name of the promotion. I've only talked to the guy one time, so it's really not going to help. But, hey, I'm tweeting it, and I'll Facebook it like crazy. So anybody follows me on Twitter at TNA_Gunner, I'll have it on there. But I got a show there in the Green Bay area this weekend. And like you said, I still do indies all the time. I have a few lined up in February and in March. So I'm doing a benefit show, I believe it's March 21st in Fayetteville, North Carolina for, cancer benefit stuff like that, which I really like to involve myself with stuff like that and some anti-bully stuff as much as I can. But anybody who follows me on Twitter, like I said, I plug the crap out of that stuff.
Awesome. And, well, you also mentioned John Schuyler. I actually just saw right before we went on the air on my Facebook feed that John was on Main Event tonight against the Ascension.
Yeah.
So
that's what I heard.
Good for
Another
him.
buddy of mine, Ryan. You remember Ryan used to do the stuff in NWA with us, man. And I guess Colin, what is his name now in WWE?
Connor and Victor.
Connor O'Brien. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, Connor O'Brien, man, or, Ryan O'Reilly back in NWA times. I'm glad to see guys like him finally getting an opportunity. And John, from what, I saw on Facebook as well. And I actually texted John and congratulated him, man. So he's, excited. Guys like get a chance to work in WWE ring and stuff like that. And I know last year he got a chance to do an extra spot in his own hometown in Columbia, South Carolina. So his dreams are coming true. He's working hard. And then who's to say that, you even have to have a job in the big times now to really be living your dream? I mean, you look at Adam Pearce, who, in my opinion, should have had a job in both companies regardless. But, I mean, he made a living, man. And Colt Cabana and guys like that made a living on the independent circuit, Ring of Honor in Japan and stuff like that. And, I mean, people know who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a handful of them. I mean, there's not many, but there are a handful of them that can do that, and they are all self-made men, So it is possible. It's difficult, but it's certainly possible. And
right.
You mentioned Pierce. I think actually there's nothing official been named about that, but I saw he was working in an agent capacity for NXT, so it looks like he might be headed down there, which is good to hear.
Oh, good. He's the guy. Yeah, he's amazing, man. So, and I'm glad to see the guys like Luke Gallows and all the fellas in the Bullet Club there in Japan doing great too. I actually ran into AJ, right when I got back from Iceland in Jersey, and he was, doing really well, man.
Man, that New Japan is taking off. I got to watch that pay-per-view, and it was excellent.
That's what I heard. I heard it was really good, man. So I'm glad to see a lot of everybody just, keep it on and keep it on. AJ left the company, and then, he didn't let it stop him. But, once again, TNA, we went on without him too,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was good for both companies. TNA's managed to really reinvent itself with the guys, like Lashley on top, but he's got all that credibility, and They've got all these great tag teams and stuff going on now, and like Low Key and Samoa Joe, and a mix of all their homegrown guys. So it's they've got a nice re-identity. AJ's found a new identity in the Bullet Club. I think everybody won in that scenario ultimately.
Absolutely, man. The wrestling business, it goes on without you, right?
Dude.
Yeah, it will.
Always, man.
Yeah.
There's always another show to be had. I had Pat Rose, a longtime Southeastern wrestling legend, who does his own radio show up here for ESPN Radio on the show. But he was, talking about, he got a little emotional talking about he was down in the front row of WWE with his son, and he turned around to look at the audience, he looked back at the ring, and it just kind of hits him that it's over. Somebody else is doing it, And,
I can imagine.
Really teaches you, I guess, to appreciate it while it's there.
Yeah, it's like when I go to Anarchy, man, and when I was down there a couple of times, the early part of last year, and just sitting in the locker room and knowing that, I started Independence in '01, but when I came to Anarchy in like the end of '06 with Truett, that's really where I came into my own, and you talked about it a little bit, where I started just kind of getting an opportunity to work different guys and better talent, and just, I sat in the locker room a few times and out in the crowd, I was just like, man, this, it's where my dreams really started to come true, man, and really who Phil Shatter, a.k.a. Gunner, kind of came into his own, and guys like you and Dan, or not Dan, but Jeff and Berg, and, man, I can name everybody, but they just helped me, and they believed in me, or you guys believed in me, so.
Hey, man, my pleasure. You were a pleasure to be around. You still are. You're one of those guys that never forgot where you came from, and I've met a lot that have over the years, over these last 16 years that I've been in the business. But you never did. You've always remained humble. You've always, appreciated everything, and I think that's, why you continue to be successful.
That's it, man. Hey, you never know when it's going to end, brother, but I'm having a blast. And all the guys in wrestling are really, really my true friends. I mean, the ones I travel with, and I don't keep in touch with anybody from high school, man. So, you guys are the ones that'll be there when it's all over.
That's it, man. A lot of these days, because of the way wrestling is just spread out, you don't get as much of that camaraderie, which is why it's cool when you get a place like Anarchy, where everybody gets to bond and work together and travel to different towns together and all of that. You get the time riding in the car where you really do create those bonds.
Sure, man. It's just a big family.
Yeah. And you also learn. So speaking of learning, man, with being there at Impact TNA, you've been around so many great veterans. Like, who has helped you the most, and what are some of the most important things you've learned from the veterans there?
I travel with Ken Anderson a lot, and I mean, he's got to, fortunately, he got a chance to work in WWE and work guys like Taker and Sean and Hunter and all these guys, man. So I pick his brain a lot because he's really, really smart when it comes to promos, putting matches together and stuff like that. But a guy that I tend to latch on to, there's two actually, and they're both agents. One being Tommy Dreamer and one being Al Snow, man. Both of those really are the ones who agent my matches most of the time, or give me ideas, or who I go to, just because, I mean, you know what they've done, and as far as their work rate and putting stories together, they're really, really smart. And that's the ones I pick the brains the most. Obviously, Kurt Angle, man, you can go up to him anytime and ask him, anything. I mean, he's been there and done that too. So, but Tommy and Al, man, I really, really like to pick their brains a lot. Al's really smart when it comes to less is more, which I'm 240 pounds, and the way wrestling is now, it's like spot. And that's just not how I work, man. And, less is more to me. I remember watching matches in the 90s and early 2000s when, guys didn't do a lot. They went out there and told a story. They let their selling and their facials do most of the talking. And that's really what I still believe in. And I believe that fans still latch on to that storytelling, and they bought a ticket. They're there to see us work, and they're not going to dictate how I wrestle.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the one putting on the show, and
right.
you need to be the one in control, and some of those more rowdy audiences will try that. And, a true ring general is going to step up and take control of that situation. Sometimes it's easier than others.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. But New York was really, I was worried about that the first time I worked in front of the New York crowd at the Manhattan Center because they were ECW and Ring of Honor and all that stuff. And I was like, oh boy. But no, they were really, they were really welcoming to me, and I think it's got a lot because TNA's really been pushing the military thing. So I think we have something that the fans could go, all right, we respect him for that. Let's actually give him a chance now instead of yelling that he sucks all the time. Which I don't
yeah. Well, hey, people up in New York like an ass kicker, and if you're kicking ass, then they're going to get behind you. I think that's pretty simple, and add the respect factor to the military in, and I think you got a winning combination there.
Right, man, for sure.
Yeah. So is that New York audience as difficult to work for as we've heard?
No. I mean, I think for as far as guys cutting promos, they like to chant their certain, little taunts and stuff like that. But really, I haven't had if they're into the story and into the person you're working or into who you are, they're really welcoming, man. And it'll air in a few weeks, but we had a big cage match in New York Friday night, and it was just everybody. I mean, everybody was in it, and they really got into it, man. There was just so much going on. But like you said, they just like the fighters there. They're used to that, the ECW stuff, but I haven't had a problem out of them yet.
Awesome. Well, I know you talked about you're actually going on the Jamie Josta podcast, so glad to give you a little warm-up here for that.
For sure. I'm excited, man. Yeah, I'm going to see Black Label and Hatebreed on this coming Sunday, man. I'm super stoked because I hadn't seen Hatebreed since I was in the Marine Corps in 2005, and I haven't seen Black Label in, 3 years, man. So, 4 years. But Jamie asked me to be on his podcast. I was like, absolutely, because I remember, it's funny, I'll talk to him about it, but I remember, me and Truett Fields tag teaming coming out to, live for this. And it's just kind of cool to be able to do some stuff like this. I mean, you guys you look up to and or music you really like, and getting a chance to talk to him because he's a big wrestling fan, so we'll kind of battle back and forth, I'm sure, about wrestling and music.
That's awesome. I saw Hatebreed open for Lamb of God in 2010, and then I saw Black Label at the Masquerade. You might have been at that show. I can't remember. It was back during the Anarchy days.
No, man, last time, yeah. I haven't. I mean, I saw Black Label twice. Once when I was in the military in 2006, and down in Orlando, matter of fact, in 2010. So it's been a long time since it's been sick.
Yeah, they're so good live, man. Zach is such a beast on the guitar live. He's such a showman. He'll climb up on the amplifier and beat his chest. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he's definitely, man. I keep in touch with Nick. Nick Ketnese used to be with him, and we keep in touch on a regular basis, man. So he's got a new guitar player now. I'm not sure the guy's name, but it's going to be cool to see him kill it, man.
Yeah, have you heard the new album?
I did. Oh yeah, I bought it the day it come out.
It's pretty awesome.
I dig it. Yeah, I dig it a lot, man. I'm looking forward to a new Hatebreed album coming out. I think it's been a few years since they've done something, right?
Yeah. Well, I know Jamie Josta did that Kingdom of Sorrow for a while with the Crowbar guy.
Yeah, I like
awesome.
that, man. And then he did that solo Josta, the album Josta or whatever it was, which I thought was really good.
Right on. So what kind of music are you spinning right now?
Man, I'm obviously, I've always been a metal fan. I got the classic rock stuff. I took my dad to see a little bit of Ace Frehley back in November, and probably the loudest concert I've ever been to in my life. It was really an overload of music. Like I saw Kiss in 2000, and they didn't let Ace be Ace Frehley, man. And playing his solo tour was just phenomenal. He kills it on the guitar. Way better guitar player than I ever expected. And I always knew he was good. But I dig a lot of Christian rock too, man, like Skillet and guys like that. And so I get into a little bit of everything. Never been a rap fan, so I steer clear of rap music. But any kind of good rock, good metal, just a good vibe, man. Something I can throw the weights around to, get pumped up. Pantera is always a go-to.
Absolutely. Pantera. That's the one thing we bonded on instantly. I remember when we first hooked up down there, it was like, oh, Pantera is the greatest band of all time. Yes, they are.
Ever. Yeah, for real, man. So I mean, and I'm hoping that you know, that Metallica to put, you know, they're supposed to put a new album out this coming year. They're the kind of guys that just like, you know, they only put one out every 5 or 6 years. But I've been getting into a lot of the newer Accept albums. I don't know if you heard like any of that stuff, man, but a lot of their new albums are really good. Blood of the Nations, I believe, is one of them. Yeah, Accept.
Like Ball to the Wall.
Yeah, but that, you know, like they got a new singer, but I know Blood of the Nations is an album that come out in 2011, I believe. And I just happened to grab it one day, and I'm like, the guy, it's amazing. It's a lot heavier than like Balls to the Wall era. So if you haven't listened to it, you know, I can shoot you some links to it, man. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, do that. I would like to check that out. Lamb of God's been on hiatus for a while. I know that was the other band that we were always like singing songs and rocking out to.
And I think they're supposed to start kicking. I read some stuff about them starting to work on a newer album this year, because there was, you know, rumors of them splitting up, and I heard that they kind of ironed everything out. Which, God, I'm so glad, man. They're another one of those like bands. To me, it's like Pantera, like. Just unfortunately, Pantera split up and all that crap happened, but I want to see Lamb of God's going forever, because to me they're like Machine Head. Every album gets better, man, better and better and better, because the musicians are just phenomenal.
Dude, they're so good. I saw them, and I thought about trying to get an interview with them, because I know like one of their good friends is an old friend of mine, and so I was like, yeah, man, I could probably call and try to hook that up. But Randy had just gotten out. You know, of the jail, and they'd gone back on tour, and they came here to Chattanooga. I was like, I'm not going to bother them. I'm just going to come rock out. So I did, and it ruled right. Yeah,
man. Did you hear the new Machine Head album?
Yes. Oh, man. They keep getting better with every album.
Oh, yeah. For sure, man. For sure. And then, like, you know, obviously I'm a huge Seven Dust fan. I mean, I'm good buddies with those guys, too, so I always follow those guys, man. And then I just recently got a bunch of iTunes gift cards for Christmas, so I was like, I don't buy some older stuff, and I got like you know, Bush's 16 Stone album, which is, you know, not metal, but it's really good, man. And then Nirvana's Unplugged album. So I was like, just kind of some older stuff I've been jamming to.
Here's something our audience will find odd, and I usually don't comment on my love for a 90s alternative, and I'm not like a giant fan of it. But those are two pretty good albums from that era. And what's funnier to me is the older I get, and I'm curious if you're this way, the older I get, the more new music that comes out, the more music that I hated in the 80s and 90s, I go back and think, well, man, that wasn't that bad.
Oh, for real, man, yeah, because this new just garbage for the most part, like, you know, a lot of the stuff they play on the radio. But, yeah, I'm the same way, man. You know, I was never really a big Pearl Jam fan. I always liked some of their stuff, like their 10 album, but I went and saw them a few years ago with John Schuyler in concert in Charlotte, and one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And I was like, man, I got to start listening to these guys. And, yeah, it's the same way I am. Just new music's crap, and I kind of go back to the old stuff.
Yeah, it's like with Pearl Jam, I remember in the 90s, you know, I was such a metal snob. As a teenager, you know, so I was like, oh, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden suck, you know, but like going back, like they're really good rock bands, actually.
Sure. I got the Unknown album, you know, Super Unknown or whatever it is from Soundgarden, by the fact, and that was just, you know, Chris Cornell, you know, I saw him last year, I think it was, in Charlotte, just an all-acoustic set, him and an acoustic guitar, and he played for like 3 hours. It was just phenomenal, man. Like, if you've never seen him or listened to like the, I think it's the Songbook album or something like that. It was just him and an acoustic guitar. It's just unbelievable. That guy's, you know, one of the best vocalists there is as far as music like that.
Badass. Here we are talking to Gunner from Impact Wrestling and talking music right now. We've only got, looking at the clock here, about 10 minutes left in our recording time for the show here. So we'll switch gears off the music topic to not bore those who don't care about that type of thing to tears. But if you're listening to the Midnight Black Mass, you probably will dig what we're talking about. But what I want to switch gears to would be another fandom of yours that people may or may not know about. that we also do a sister podcast here on this network about this very topic, the world of comic books. Our podcast is called Get Your Pulls. You're a comic fan. What are you reading these days?
I have, obviously still keeping up with The Walking Dead and stuff like that. I really, my comics have kind of, I was into some of the newer Star Wars comics, but I've really been reading a lot of novels lately. Nothing comic related. I've been kind of on a comic hiatus. I was into a big Star Wars novel reading, frenzy there for a while, man. But I do know that the Invincible comics I keep up with, the Image. I believe it's an Image, right? Yeah. So the Invincible comics, I always like kind of real corny superhero style, stuff. And but my comic book reading's kind of been vague lately. I've been, like I said, diving into a lot of novels. Read, a couple, like Rex Brown's book, and then working on Terry Funk's book and stuff like that. But I did get a chance to our last time in New York back in, I think it was August when we did tapings last year. We got a chance to go to the DC comic, vault and see all these, not Spider-Man, Superman. The first Superman comic is worth like $3 million or something silly, man. And he loaded me up with a bunch of the Preacher and stuff like that. And so I got a bunch of nice, comic novels over here to dive into pretty soon. But if you've never been to the DC comic or the Marvel comic headquarters, it's something amazing.
Yeah, I bet. I remember being so jealous when I saw that. I was like, oh, I hate you.
Yeah, dude, it was great, man. It was great. And Sam Shaw is an artist, man. And regardless of, I hate his guts for turning on me, but he, he's trying to get his foot in the door with DC, man. And that day kind of opened up some opportunities for him, bro. He, he's a heck of an artist, even though he's a little creeper. But the DC comic thing is really cool. They're actually in the process of moving the majority of that place to L.A. And it's funny because you walk in there and there was bins and bins, trash cans full of comics they were throwing away. And I was like, are you kidding me? And we walked into I can't remember his name, but he's pretty much the head over the DC in New York. And he's got an office the size of my apartment. But, dude, I mean, just hundreds and thousands of comic books. And he goes, yeah, just go over there and pick whatever you want. So you would have been in heaven, man.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah, I heard that Preacher is getting made into an AMC series as well. Bailey had told me that, that was a must-read. That's one of the ones that's been on my list for a while, but I never got around to it. So you better get on that before it becomes a bandwagon thing.
Right. Yeah, he gave me the first 4 or 5 volumes of it. I'm sitting here staring at them right now. But so I'm gonna. I'm the kind of guy that reads 3 or 4 books at a time. I don't know how I do it. My attention span's real weird. I've been reading a lot of war novels, like American Sniper and Lone Survivor and stuff like that, man. But I bounce back around.
Yeah, sometimes you just get overloaded, man. Especially we were doing the weekly comic podcast for a while, and scheduling has knocked it down to monthly now. But having to read so many on a weekly basis, I would just get totally burned out at times and not want to read anything, would not want to read any comics. I would also go to books, usually, and read Paul Di'Anno from Iron Maiden's autobiography, or the Game of Thrones books. So, some good stuff there.
Nice. Looking forward to the Star Wars movies in December. I got to wait another 11 or 12 months, but huge Star Wars fan. I think J.J. Abrams will do a really good job. Like he did with the Star Trek flick, so I'm excited. I might try and actually go out to Anaheim, California in April and attend the big Star Wars geek convention. I'm not going to dress up, but I want to go out there and hope to get a chance to, hang with a buddy of mine and just kind of be a part of all that stuff, man. It'd be kind of cool.
That would be great. Cons are my absolute favorite thing. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Dragon Con, yeah. For sure, man. For sure. I'll let you know, brother, if I am, and I'll definitely keep you posted on that, so.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I am excited for Star Wars. I got to wait all the way till Christmas, but I agree. I think it's in good hands with J.J. Abrams. I like the teaser. I like that they're not going with a whole lot of CGI, and they're using a lot of animatronics and stuff. They're trying to give it that original trilogy vibe.
Right, and they filmed a lot of it in Iceland. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've seen the previews where the Sith is out in the forest, the and his lightsaber pops, in 3 different directions, but that was in like the forest of Iceland. So I was like, indeed.
Awesome.
Yeah, they do. So, but that's it, man. Diving into a little bit of, I've been doing a lot of auditions this past year, and acting's, I think, harder to get into than pro wrestling. So, but a lot of my auditions are going really well. I mean, they're going really well. I'm getting good feedback and my foot in the door with a good acting agency in Atlanta that's really, really hard to kind of get in with. But, hey, man, I'm 32. I can wrestle for as long as I can, but, your body only lasts so long, so I'm trying to work on things to fall back on.
Absolutely. Got to have a backup plan at some level, especially when you're doing something that physical, because it's just going to beat your body up after a while. Logic says that you're not going to be able to do it forever, and if the money's even really good for a short period, the money ain't going to be around forever. So smart man. And looking the way you do, I don't foresee you having ultimately much trouble getting in. Like you see a guy like Luke Hawks, who's transitioned into a lot of stunt work and stuff. And I think, the wrestling guys, they are respected a little more in Hollywood than I think we probably know, because of guys like The Rock. And they've shown that they're willing to go in there and do their own stunts, and they kind of already know what's up and are not quite as prima donna-ish as some of the Hollywood actor types.
Yeah, man, that's true. Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit different now, but I think that, I got a good guy that's working with me, and he's really pushing for me and helping me out a lot. It's a whole different world, bro. And just trying to jump into a little bit of, anti-bully stuff in schools as well. And I got my feet in every direction. I don't want to. Somebody asked me, do you ever sit at home and just relax? If I sit at home and relax, I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. There's so much more that I can do. I mean, I'm young, so I'm really trying to get out there and make a difference, help people out, and do the things I want to do.
Absolutely, man. You're a good man, Gunner. Just before we wrap it up, anything you wanted to plug right quick? Anything else?
I think just my Twitter account, TNA_Gunner, and then you can follow me on Instagram at Gunner82, and then I'm on Facebook. Got my real name on there because Facebook's whack and won't let nobody use anything. But Chad Lail, Lail, and as far as that, I try and keep the fans posted on where I'm going to be, give them inspirational quotes, and just try and keep their spirits high, man. And that's really about it, bro. I appreciate all the support from anybody listening, and Dan, from you, man, and through all these years, always been a good friend.
Hey, man, thank you, and the same to you, brother, absolutely, and we appreciate you taking your time tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch him Friday nights, 9 p.m., Destination America, Impact Wrestling. Gunner, thank you for joining the show, my man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too, brother.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Gunner. Great conversation. We had him on the first time, and we talked about all of the origin story and going back in his career and how he got started. So this time I wanted to break it up and make it a little more of a lighthearted conversation and just more of a natural catching up between friends, and I think we accomplished that. And so very happy for him and everything that he's got going on. We're out of time, folks. This has been the Midnight Black Mass. Thanks for joining us again. We'll be back next week with female wrestling sensation Lufisto. You don't want to miss that show. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. This is the Rev, and I am out.